Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always by my co-host Nick Filato. And today I'm really excited, Nick, because today is exactly the day, in my mind at least, March 31st, turning into April 1st, where I go into full draft mode. It is time to get excited about this thing. It's coming. It's almost here. The NCAA tournament is over. All I'm thinking about is the draft right now. It's not fully over. I still got a lot of money riding on this Final Four. But all I'm thinking about is the draft, man. And so on this show, I'm really excited for where we're headed because as we've done the past few seasons, I think 3 or 4 in a row, we're putting out a shit ton of content in the month of April. So you guys can get excited about that. And I just today booked 2 really important interviews for this show, guest interviews that we love to have on. And a third that I'm looking at my DM now seems to be very close to getting locked in. So we're going to have 3 people on the show in the next 2 weeks, I would say, maybe more. I'm going to start doing that process, reaching out. I want to get as many people as we can get on to talk draft, to give outside perspective, Nick, and to talk about these prospects. And we'll work our way through. We've done Ward, but Sanders is coming very shortly this week. And we're going to work our way through all the options at 3. And then we're going to work our way through 34 and all the other picks like we always do, Nick. So it's an exciting time of the year, man. I'm excited to talk football with you. There's a lot of possibilities for the New York Giants.
We got dueling mock drafts that will be coming up as well. That's a big thing Dan and I do every year. It's a lot of fun. So we'll try to construct teams, be the general manager. What would we do? Our sleepers. I love draft season, man. It's one of my favorite.
It's so fun. And today's show is going to be a little different. We're going to talk about general manager Joe Schoen. He had 2 things. He is at the NFL owners meeting, so he spoke briefly with Giants beat reporters. Not a lot of that was publicized, Nick. I did a lot of searching on X to find it. I can't believe I finally called it X for the first time. But I did a lot of searching on X to find stuff on this. Little bit there, but what we did get, which we'll also talk about today, is Joe Schoen had a Q&A with Giants.com, revealed a lot of interesting things. So I want to first start here, Nick, with what he said to the reporters. And the first thing that he said that stood out to me was a confirmation of something that we weren't sure of, but we kind of felt was possible. He said Russell Wilson will start by getting first team reps with the starting offense when the players arrive in a few weeks for the start of OTAs. So I think it's confirmation, because I don't think he would have said this otherwise, that Russell Wilson will be the first team starter for the Giants at QB1 until further notice. It doesn't mean he'll be that way all year, but I don't think this is going to be an open competition. I think it's going to look a lot like 2022 and 2024, where in 2022, Tyrod was signed, but did not get many, if any, first team reps. And then last offseason, Drew Lock was signed, but did not get any first team reps. So it's going to be Russ's job.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that with the contract that Russell Wilson received, and especially since we also learned that the Giants wanted to sign Russell Wilson prior to when Russell Wilson signed. They offered him a contract when he came into the building, which also throws a little bit of just, I guess, an unknown or maybe just cold water on the whole. The Giants were just waiting on Aaron Rodgers thing. Like, I don't know if that was necessarily true, but it makes sense. Since they were able to court Russell Wilson and bring him in here, I personally would like a real open competition. I would like the foundation of knowledge and comfort that, hey, if Russ sucks, which I don't necessarily anticipate, I think he's a professional who's going to come in, know the offense, understand what to do. Doesn't mean that's going to necessarily translate into wins, but it won't be a Drew Lock situation.
Sure.
But if it were to be, I would like the Giants to pull the rug from underneath him and give Jameis a shot, like the Giants more than likely should have done back in 2023 with Tyrod Taylor. But that's neither here nor there at this point. I look at this entire situation and I'm not overly shocked by it. I just hope that there's a little bit of flexibility just in case something does go wrong.
Yeah, it's a good point. And you mentioned something that was interesting that he also revealed, that when Russ first came in the building, he was offered a contract, and then they negotiated for the next however many days it was until we got the news that they signed. So I think the Rodgers thing was kind of, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that also is interesting as well, because what did the Giants do between them offering that contract and Russ signing? They signed Jameis Winston.
Right.
And they signed him to a very modest deal. But I wonder if that, again, I think we mentioned this on the podcast last week, was that maybe the Giants being like, look, we like you, Russ. If you're going to drag your feet here, we're going to bring somebody else in. We need to cross our T's. We need to dot our I's. And then Russ was like, all right, bet Steelers don't want me. This is my best opportunity. Jameis signed for 4 a year. I'm going to get my money. I'll be the de facto starter.
Sure. Yeah, and there's a lot of incentives baked into his contract,
Yeah.
which really is interesting. I thought it was really well done by the Giants, to be honest. An
Yeah.
incentive-based contract like that starts at a 10.5 for a starting quarterback. I mean, good God, like we paid Jordan Jones 40 million once. That these types of guys make a lot of money at that position. You can make a shit ton of money. So to get somebody like Russ at that price is really well done because a lot of it is incentive baked. Go ahead.
And in this quarterback market too, right? Like the
Right.
quarterback market is so inflated, but again, the market dictated because there weren't that many starting jobs. Just being like, hey, Russell Wilson, you can come here. There weren't a lot of teams bidding for Russell Wilson to be that starter. So his best option to ensure that he had an opportunity to start was to come to the New York Giants. And he gets Malik Neighbors, and he gets Brian Dable, and he gets an upgraded offensive line and a defense that was just invested in. So Russell Wilson thought this could be the best way to extend my career and possibly earn a contract next season if I capitalize this season.
Yeah, really, really well done for both sides on that front. Now, I'll say this about what you mentioned earlier with regards to Jameis. Joe Shane did mention that he came to Mara after this part he didn't mention, but we know he came to Mara after the offseason and said, I got a quarterback plan, and Mara responded, well, good, but just make sure that I don't end up losing Malik Neighbors because he's our most popular player by far. Then don't worry, John. We're not going to trade Neighbors anytime soon. We didn't sign him to trade him, but and he said part of the offseason plans he offered, one offseason plan that Joe Shane said was to sign Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Specifically, this was a plan to get both of those two in. Now, one reason he mentioned that was he felt like last year, and this is true, he felt like we really did a poor job with backup quarterback. He's like, backup quarterback's important. We've had 7 quarterbacks in the last 3 years play football for us. Like, we can't keep doing this thing. And he's like, Jameis, and he went into the details of why he likes Jameis. But one thing that's pretty clear about why this would be part of his plan, Nick, and I thought this is interesting because he mentioned this as well. This is from the Q&A part of Joe Shane's talk with the Giants recently, but Jameis and Russ both do 2 things well. They throw the ball downfield. They attack vertically. They attack aggressively into hole shots, into windows. And Joe Shane mentioned that. He's like, why do you like Russell Wilson? And Russell Wilson's been good with the deep ball. That's what Dable wants to do. He wants to be aggressive. His offense is based on verticality. It's been impossible for him to do that for so long, man. Like we got a small glimpse of it as Giants fans with Tyrod Taylor in 2023, because during that stretch of Tyrod Taylor, no, it wasn't perfect football. Tyrod Taylor wasn't some star quarterback that we just missed out on and we couldn't believe it. But during that small period of time, Nick, when Tyrod was quarterback, the Giants led the NFL in explosive pass rate. With Tyrod Taylor, who's clearly not the most explosive passer in the NFL or the best vertical passer in the NFL, but that system worked really well for generating explosive pass plays as long as your quarterback wasn't Daniel Jones or Drew Lock or something like that. So with somebody like Russin and with somebody like Jameis as his backup, you now have 2 guys who are capable of fitting what Dable wants to do from a systematic standpoint, from not just a systematic standpoint with Dable, but it's like a mindset standpoint. It's his approach. It's what he wants to do. And I'm excited about that idea. Sure, these guys aren't superstar quarterbacks, but I'll say this from talking to a lot of Jets fans, Nick, these guys might be a better fit for Dable's system than Rodgers would have been, because a lot of Jets fans I talked to said the one part missing from Rodgers' game last year was he was not aggressive attacking vertically.
Yeah, we needed an aggressive attack. And now he was also Aaron Rodgers was in a different type of system than Brian Dable, so maybe it would have, but that's regardless of the point. We know Russell Wilson's going to attack outside the numbers. He has the moon ball. We all know what Russ has. We've talked about it a lot since the Giants signed him and even prior to that. And again, not to belabor this point, homie has not lost anything on his arm. And I'm knocking on wood, and I hope that it does not. But when you watch some of the throws he made last season, and we played the clip and got demonetized on YouTube for doing it, he was making some throws, dude, that I'm like, that is like 2015 Russell Wilson. Now, what's not 2015 Russell Wilson is his ability to avoid the rush, his ability to maneuver the pocket, his ability to escape, which were so critical to his game. Remember when the Seahawks would play the Rams and it'd be Aaron Donald against Russell Wilson? That's basically what it seemed like, at least, because Aaron Donald would win in less than a second, and then Russ was just backpedaling and evading, and he would be able to get away from Aaron Donald. There's no shot that he's doing that at 36 years old right now. And that brings his game down. But you need him to make some of those throws deep to Malik or to Darius. It's something that Slayton has not seen in his entire career. And I'm happy for Darius Slayton that he's back here now. I'm wondering if the players were like informed that the Giants were going to go after. And maybe that's one of the reasons why Slayton was like, yeah, I'll stay in New York and continue to ride this out. I like the plan. I wonder if this plan was presented to some of those players who were retained.
It's certainly possible because I think Slayton even mentioned something, maybe an interview with Pat Leonard I saw or something where they presented him a quarterback plan. And if you're a receiver, you're gonna like the plan, on my mind at least, with Russell Wilson, because I think you broke it down well, Nick. We've watched a lot of his tape from last year that once he signed. And while the of half of what made his game so magical and at times borderline elite is gone, or not half, or like that aspect of what made his
Yeah.
game borderline elite is gone, the arm is still there. And I don't want to sound like Dave Gettleman circa, 2018 with Eli Manning. Like, I watched the Philly game and he still makes all the throws, because that was true of Eli. And that is kind of true of Russ still. Point being, Eli still could make a lot of the throws. Like when he had to come in 2019 against, I forget, I think it was the Eagles, the guy dotted up a 70-yard touchdown to Darius Slayton, something we never saw. Like we didn't see a lot during the last era of 6 years of football. It's something. It's important to be able to attack vertically. It opens up the whole defense. We've talked about it extensively on the show. I don't want to go back over that. Go ahead.
Yeah, with Darius specifically, not to deviate too far, but I think this is
Yeah.
important because he was retained. What is Darius Slayton's number one trait, would you say, as a wide receiver? Like what could he offer an NFL team more than other receivers? To
To
me,
me, yeah, go ahead. What's
it's
yours?
it's the verticality. It's his
Yep.
ability to win downfield. It's his ability to be a deep threat. And on the Giants, that wasn't really a thing at all. He would be open. And how many times, Dan, would we be going through the film? All of our listeners who have been with us for years, when we used to break down
Yep.
3 hours worth of all 22, be like, Slayton's wide open downfield. Slayton cooked Tariq Woolen. Slayton this, Slayton that. And then people will be like, oh, Slayton dropped the ball. He sucks. It's like, this guy is creating so much separation, and there's no quarterback or offensive line, too, who can allow this vertical passing attack to thrive. And now the offensive line is a little bit more stable. You have Russ, who can attack downfield. We could see a career year out of Darius Slayton, who is going to have one-on-one coverage consistently with Malik Neighbors. And Dable is going to be able to play chess against the defense in order to dictate that coverage and put Malik on one side, Darius on another, force the roll to Malik. If that's what defenses want to do, we have Darius over here, and we have a quarterback who can now attack vertically. So I'm happy for Darius Slayton that he's going to be able to experience this.
Me too. And I think this could be a situation where maybe part of the reason we haven't seen Jalen Hyatt a lot is because Dable hasn't felt like we have the quarterback in place to even have having Jalen Hyatt on the field, right? With somebody like Russ, there's more of a point to put Hyatt on the field because you can move him into the slot, get him those free releases off line of scrimmage, which he basically needs, and then have him shoot up there vertically and create that space and actually feel like, okay, maybe I have somebody who will take a chance and throw the football. Because I'll tell you this from watching Russ. Sure, I agree with you. The athleticism isn't there like it used to be. And the numbers back this up. He's taking way more sacks than he ever used to. It's a problem. But there are also moments on tape where you're watching Russ and you're like, he saw that early pre-snap,
Yep.
he confirmed it post-snap, and he didn't waste any time. Remember how I always love to talk about how, like, yes, you need an offensive line to throw vertically. You also need a quarterback who's not going to hold the football and is going to make a decision fast, and it negates the offensive line a lot of time. I saw plenty of plays where Russ negated the offensive line by getting the ball out and attacked vertically on those plays. And that's going to be a scenario where it could be Hyatt, that could be Slayton. But another thing about this and why they might have liked this plan, somebody like Hyatt, we talked a lot about this. Daniel Jones, one of the issues with him was the vertical throws didn't have pace, didn't change pace. And a lot of those balls were flat. You mentioned this. This was a great observation by you. They were hard, dotted, flat. So a lot of the times, like that, I think it was it wasn't the Steelers. It was the Washington game from like 2021. Slayton's wide open. It looks like, oh my God, how do you drop that? But when you watch that on tape, you're like, the ball is darting to his hand. Like, sure, it hit him right in the hand, but that ball was on a freaking line, flat on a line. Now Slayton gets to catch a pass that moons in and drops in real softly into the spot. It is so much easier to catch a ball that's coming in like that than on a line. And that's going to make a big difference for the Giants.
It just makes it easier for your receivers to catch the football. Like, it's not a black and white thing. I remember that. That was people were arguing on Twitter like crazy about it. They're like, oh, Darius Slayton should have caught it. And it's like, I ultimately agree with that.
Sure.
But the quarterback needs to throw a more catchable ball if the opportunity to throw a more catchable ball is present. And that opportunity was present, and he decided to still throw it on a line and throw that heavy ball. Now the balls fall from the sky like a feather with some grace, and you can run underneath them and you can secure them and you're not breaking your fingers. So ultimately, yes, Slayton should have caught that. But the quarterback made it so difficult for him to catch it, for him to do his job. And now with a different quarterback who throws with a different style and a lot of pacing on the football and layers balls over, puts touch, it's going to be a more simple catch in those types of situations when the receiver is deep, and also the quarterback will not have that reluctance that we have just dealt with over the last 6 years.
Sure. And we're not bringing this up to beat a dead horse. It's not beating a
No.
dead horse. We covered a team for 6 years. That's the example we have to draw on. We will use examples like this to counterbalance. Like it goes perfectly in this scenario. You have to tell, like you could say, oh, Russ throws a good moon ball. People like to run under it. Great. That means nothing unless you provide the context of what they have been operating with. And that's not just with the line of the throw, but like Nick said, the willingness to throw and the understanding of where space is on the field, where receivers going to be running into, and where I can throw the ball to let him run into that space. Because Russell Wilson throws a moon ball. You just talked about it, Nick. How the hell could that work in the NFL? There should be no time to throw moon balls. Safety should be able to cover ground enough to break that. But if you understand space well enough and where to throw the football into and where there's going to be space, you can throw moon balls because it doesn't really matter. And Phillip Rivers made a career off moon balls. Russell Wilson as well. So like it's just understanding space and it's just understanding and anticipating where the receiver is going to run into. So that's something that I think is going to help these receivers. Joe Schoen talked about it. Another thing he mentioned, Nick, in this Q&A was that one of the reasons they really were drawn to Russ was that he's only had 2 total seasons in his entire career where he hasn't thrown for at least 20 touchdown passes. And Shane mentioned that last year, he only played in 11 games and threw for 16 touchdown passes. This is important. Like, it seems obvious, like you need to throw touchdown passes to have a chance to win games in the NFL, but it's true. Like, regardless of how obvious it is, it's true. And the Giants haven't thrown for a lot of touchdown passes. They had 15, 11, 12 over the Jones years, one year where they had 24 the first year. But outside of that, it's like it capped at 15 touchdown passes. So Joe Schoen wants to get to that 20 number again. And I think he believes strongly that Russell Wilson will get there. And history shows that he's probably right.
Yeah. Last season did not throw 20, through 18, right? But again, Justin Fields started like 4 or 5 of those games. And then it was 2022, that disastrous year with Nathaniel Hackett. So people might say, well, look, it's 2 of the last 3 seasons he has not eclipsed 20, but it's like, I think there's context there that can excuse it. Now, is that me as a fan trying to excuse it? I hope not. I'm trying to be about as objective as possible. But with the weapons the Giants have, I have to imagine if Russell Wilson plays 16 games even and misses a game, I mean, 15 games, he's going to eclipse 20 touchdowns. If he doesn't, I think it's probably going to be a problem, or Tyrone Tracy Jr. and or the running back the Giants add in the offseason in the coming months is an absolute stud, is just pounding it at the 1-yard line at much times. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Look, we all love to work out. The summer's coming around. You want to look good in your bathing suit. But in order to enhance your workout, you want to go and use MitoPure from Timeline. This is a great product. When I started using it, it makes me feel stronger, gives me more energy. I recover quicker. You know, I'm in my 30s. I still have the energy to work out. And if you want that energy, you really should give Timeline's MitoPure a shot and work it into your routine. This, the great year of 2025, is your year to be the best, most energized, most revitalized you. MitoPure promotes cellular renewal and mitochondrial health to address common signs of aging at the root. MitoPure is the research-backed innovation that unlocks your fullest potential. Timeline is offering 10% off your order of MitoPure right now. So go to timeline.com/banter. It's timeline.com/banter. That's TIMELINE.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, there's a lot to talk about here, Nick, so I'm trying to make sure we hit everything. I'm going darting through this, but let's talk about this. As far as trading up to number 1, these are, again, just ideas I gathered from reading some of the beat reporters who this was a closed Joe Schoen owners meeting thing between the beat reporters.
League meetings, yeah.
League meetings. They've gathered that Joe Schoen is not optimistic about trading up to number 1 overall. This is not news to us, but it's just confirmation of something we know, that the trade to number 1 is dead. Again, this was something I believe reported by Albright or somebody recently, that the Giants were in serious discussions with the Titans at the combine for the number 1 pick. And then the Titans gathered more information, and it's just not going to happen at this point. The Titans wanted their 2026 1 and potentially their 2027 1. I read both. And it was just not, they were not coming anywhere near terms. And it's kind of like what the Patriots did to the Giants last year. They're like, if you give us 17 ones, essentially, we'll give you Drake May. But other than that, God bless you. God bless you. Good luck next year getting the quarterback.
Yeah, Cam Ward's going to be a Tennessee Titan. No shock there.
No shock to us. And then another thing, though, this is the big one. The vibe that they got Duggan, Ronan, and a few others that tweeted about this who got a chance to speak with Shane, is that not only will they not force a quarterback at any point during this regime, and we kind of know this is the case based on last year's draft. If you want to call that forcing, that's a debate for another day. But Duggan and them came away thinking they will not go quarterback at number 3 overall. Interesting.
It's very interesting. Yeah. I think you try to maximize this roster by adding one of the blue chip guys who will be available if Cam Ward is selected at 1. And that's going to make your team significantly better. Could make your team significantly better on both sides of the football if it's Hunter, right? So I get that. It behooves Shane and Dable to also do that. And it doesn't necessarily seem like the Giants are in love with Shedeur Sanders. I mean, if they were, and if they were confident that they could get him, which is another conversation that also pertains here, would they be so, I don't know, would they be so apt to go out and sign all of these guys? I think they still would, considering the Giants situation, but I'm just looking at the overall conversation around Shedeur. I'm not sold that the Giants would go in that direction either, but I know Duggan and Ronan and a couple of the other respected beat reporters have also reported that too.
And I think if they wouldn't, Nick, it's not necessarily because they don't believe in Sanders potentially being something in the NFL. It's more so that they believe in the opportunity cost that's lost of losing a Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter at 3 overall. I just think it's mostly based on that. It's a line of logic that I can get behind.
It's a line of logic that we used last year with Malik Neighbors. It's not that we hated Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy, and we had our concerns about Penix when it comes to mostly his injury and his age, and those two things coupled together. It was more so like Malik Neighbors could be like a Jamar Chase type of wide receiver. Do we want to pass on that? And you can say that maybe that's a mistake. I'll hear that argument. Absolutely. We've gone over that point several times this offseason. But now, man, we're talking about a quarterback that, in my opinion, I've watched Shedeur. We'll do our Shedeur episode. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is even in the conversation with the JJ McCarthy, So like,
I feel the same way.
So I don't want to do that, especially if I can get a guy who I could pair with Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, who will threaten to get 12 sacks a season and who will be a cornerstone for your defense. And offensive coordinators will have to circle and then be like, well, we got Burns and we got Dex. How are we going to block all these guys? And then you have all those young secondary pieces. That's only going to maximize them. And then you add Hunter into it. It's like you can put him at corner. You can use him at wide receiver, find the best way to leverage his skill sets. I'd rather have that problem or that issue. Yeah. Just because there's such talented players than a quarterback. And I don't want to, spill the beans on this because we'll have a quarterback who I think just has a ceiling that is not as high as I would like to spend a top 5 pick on, like a ceiling that is like, yeah, he could start, but where can he take you kind of thing?
Yeah. And look, we say that knowing full well, Nick and I say that. I'm speaking for Nick here. I'm speaking for you here, but I know you feel this way, that it's really difficult to translate and project and evaluate these quarterbacks at the NFL level. And sometimes things are going to break in weird ways, and players are going to be a lot better at the NFL level than they were at the college level. And they're going to have a bigger ceiling than we expected. I'll give you a great example. We didn't evaluate him, but I'm pretty sure, Nick, if we did Brock Purdy tape when he came out into the draft, we would not say he had anywhere near the ceiling he's had at the NFL level. And shit changes. He's great for the NFL game. It's something we couldn't see on tape, but it's something that is the fact of the matter. And then it goes the other way too, where quarterbacks look great on college tape and it just doesn't translate to the NFL level. That happens all the time from the college to the NFL game. So I don't want to say I agree with what you just evaluated on Sanders, and we'll get to more of it in his episode. But I also know deep down that he could be really great at the NFL level if certain things break his way. And also, what if he just all these guys are still young. They could develop and become better within their traits. The only thing that's limited, I think, is not limited. The only thing that's set, I should say, for any of these quarterback prospects is what is their raw tools. That really doesn't change, in my opinion, all that much. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just kind of comes down to how do you view Shedeur Sanders' raw tools and what's the outcome of him maximizing those raw tools and also growing in other areas that you're a little bit concerned about? And can some of those concerns even be assuaged at all? Is it possible, right? Some of those concerns are athletic, and it's like, can you get more athletic? So we'll go over all this. I didn't want to deviate from the point, but I felt like it's
no, it's a good point.
Pertains to the conversation.
It's a very good point, and we'll get into this too on a further episode with Travis Hunter. But I just saw, we're big fans. We've had him on the show before. Matt Harmon does reception perception, where he charts every single route that a receiver runs for every type of route, slant, curl, dig, whatever it may be, and how much separation do they create. It's not does the ball come to them. My God, Travis Hunter's reception perception, dude, it's lit up green like a fucking Christmas tree, like a, whatever, like a light or a Christmas tree. Every single route he dominates versus man, versus zone. Like he's just in 97th, 92nd percentile. And like, this is what we saw. We've hinted at this a lot when we watched this. I fucking fell in love with his wide receiver tape. Like, it's kind of unbelievable how he plays wide receiver, considering he doesn't even have time to fully focus on it. That's kind of, and Harmon said the same thing. Harmon's like, his release package off the line of scrimmage makes 0 sense. Like somebody who's playing corner full time to have that much that kind of release package, it's like not even having that long to like really play receive. It's kind of insane.
And he uses his knowledge as a corner when he's a wide receiver, dude. And you can see
and both sides. And the receiver now, it helps him on both sides of the ball. This is the best player in the draft by far. If he's on the board at 3, I'm already okay saying on March 31st, I want the Giants to take him. And that's it for me. It basically is it. I want him over Carter. I want him over all these guys besides Ward.
Yes, I'm in that same boat. And I think if the Giants don't, the Patriots will. The Patriots will be like,
that up. Oh my
I'll
God.
take that.
The Patriots are praying the Giants take Sanders. The Patriots are praying it goes Ward, Carter, Sanders. That's like the miracle. They're looking at it as a miracle right now, the Pats, and they're not going to get that. I don't.
And that guy is so talented, Hunter, that the Patriots would forego, I think, going with an offensive tackle and just saying, we'll handle that later. We'll bring this guy in. He could run some offense with us with Stephon Diggs and then just be a stud next to Christian Gonzalez on the outside.
And that's the other thing kind of sucks about this class, not just for the Giants if they were considering trading back, but like the Patriots, there's not really an offensive tackle you want to take at 4 in this class. It's not that kind of class. And there's not, in my mind, what I view as there's not a D tackle you want to take in this class at 4. I know some people think Mason Graham. I've started to watch. I just talked about this with you before the podcast. I've been watching some defense. He's a good player. He's not someone. What'd you say?
On the ground so much, dude.
He's a good player. He's not someone I would ever consider taking at 4 personally. If I'm going to take you at 4 at D tackle, you know what I want, Nick? I want you to have Planet Theory to you. At minimum, I want Planet Theory. I do. I want Planet Theory. Or Aaron Donald, who didn't have Planet Theory, but was just so obviously dominant on tape at Pittsburgh. Yeah. But otherwise, I want Dexter Lawrence Planet Theory. I want 6'5", 330, and somehow can move like Dexter Lawrence. Because that's what becomes dominant in the NFL at that position. It's not really what Mason... it's in my opinion. We'll see if I'm wrong about it. He has some clean wins, by the way. Mason Graham, we were like, oh, this is stud. But like, it's not... And he's not dominant in the run game.
I like Mason Graham, but Mason Graham against double teams, I just watched him get put on his ass so many times.
Right.
And we're talking about top 5 pick. You're talking about at 34 or something? Absolutely. You're talking about in the first round, a little bit later down, can fit into a defensive line room and complement that defense. Sure, that's great. But top 5, no, like I think that's just a little bit rich. I mean, how many sacks did he have in college? Like 9?
I don't know the exact numbers on that.
9.5 or something like that.
And those are the ones that go across like social media. Like I saw you even posted one that I've seen like 17 times in draft season, that one win that everybody loves in the red zone. It's a sick win, but again, it's a win against a college player. Is like
it's also the depth of the defensive line class. You're telling me I can get Derek Harmon at 34?
I don't think you will, but I know that's like the mirror. If we could somehow get him at 34, I still think he might go round 1, but maybe not. It's like,
it's tough, man, because there are so many defensive linemen. I think he probably will sneak into the first round, but you never know.
It's not impossible. But point I was trying to make, and we'll get back on target in a second here because there's other stuff I want to talk about before we wrap up as far as what Shane said was, I was listening to a mock draft on a podcast last night, Nick, or yesterday when I was driving with people I like. I like Coleman, like guys who watch film that I like. And it's funny, dude, because as they in this mock, they had Giants trading back to 7. As they got to like 4th, 5th, 6th pick overall in the draft, there's like nothing left. And they're like, they're debating Genty. They're debating like shit like that because there's just nothing that good at the top of this class. And it's not like when you get to 11 or 12 or 13, it's early this year. It's like 7, 8, 6. Like you don't even know what to do after that. You're like debating, like, I guess we can take Will Campbell here, but I think he's going to be a guard, but he's still the best offensive lineman. It's like, all right, do you take a guard that high? It's like, all right, well, a Genty, do I take a Genty that high? Like Walter Nolan, do I really want to take him that high? You get to that point, dude, or you could take like, Shamar Stewart. He does no production, but he's like kind of like that raw toolsy guy.
Yeah.
Based on that, dude, and I'm not going to base it all off of one pod. It's like what I've read too and what I've studied on these prospects. I'm not that interested in trading back this year for the Giants, almost at all. I'm just going to be honest. They pick up the 2026 one. I'm a little interested, I guess, because of that. But I don't know, man. I think it's risky.
I'm a Hunter guy, but I would certainly entertain it. I think it is risky, but like I look at dudes like Kelvin Banks Jr. Like Josh Simmons, he has the injury that he's like, but like
Banks is in.
if that checked out, like if somehow the doctors could check out Josh Simmons, it was a patellar tendon, so that's a little tough. And you trade back far, you're like thinking like, could bring this guy in. Could he start for a tackle? I'm just like, I
Trade
think
back far, I'm more interested in, like a power trade back to get like
but
a
we're talking about getting like assets. Somebody like I don't think this would
Yeah.
happen because teams don't usually do this for non-quarterbacks, and they're not
Right.
trading up for Shador, I don't think, right? So it would be for Hunter. I would just default and take Hunter, but I do think you're right. There's a like I think having a top 3 pick in this draft class is great. Once you get to like past like 3 almost, like
I
really,
know.
like, there's a cliff. There's a significant cliff where I think the 35th player I might have similarly graded to the 6th player. Right?
I know it's
I
not.
think that extends too. Like I think you can get to like the 40s and you're still getting guys who are talented. But at that point, I think this draft, and this is what makes this draft interesting, is it's going to be a little bit unpredictable. Last year's draft was unpredictable, and there were a lot of great players, but the quarterbacks made it unpredictable, right? Like Penix went 7 or whatever it was, more like what the fuck is going on?
Defensive players didn't come off the board at all, almost.
Yeah, it was a wild draft. Like who was the first defensive player selected? Was it Liatu Latu?
I think it was Latu at 16 or 17 to the Dolphins.
Just a crazy draft. This one, I think you're going to start seeing guys who are like, oh, wow, everyone said he was a second round pick and he went the top 15. Like, I think that's going to happen. And to me, that's so exciting.
But it also tells me, like, I don't need to trade back.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, look, if someone comes out with like a Julio deal, like they move from like 26 to 8 or 6 in that draft or 24 to 6, and they're just like giving us a shit ton of stuff, I'm interested as long as I don't think that team, one, I want that team to be in the AFC, first of all. 2, I want that team to not have a great quarterback in my mind. Because like I don't really want a 2026 one unless I think it has a chance to be a top 5 pick. Otherwise, that loses a lot of value for me. The whole point is so I can get a quarterback with that pick. If I don't have that opportunity, then I got to be careful about who I'm trading back with if I'm going to trade back in the first place. But for me, it's really mostly just, I think you're right. It's really even after pick 3, there's a big cliff. We have one of these picks. We have 3. Ward's going 1. So we just should take one of these 2 players. Like it's just kind of it.
That's where I'm at. Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if I'll budge off of that. I really don't. But let's get back to what some of the things that Schoen said. One thing that he talked about was really important for him to bring back Greg Van Roten and sign him. And you and I have talked about this, dude, but like point blank, he probably had the most consistent and best tape of all Giants offensive linemen last year. Sans Andrew Thomas, we're talking about, played the full season. And really by a large margin. And Schoen talked about how his leadership is a really important factor. And it was interesting, some names he mentioned. He mentioned his leadership in the development of Jake Kubas. This is clearly a player we heard behind the scenes they really liked. And then it proved it when they kept him on the roster. He could be a developmental player that starts to play as soon as this year. You never know with injuries. So it was very important for them to sign Greg Van Roten for the rest. And he also mentioned his center guard versatility, which always stands out to me, Nick, because I'm not the biggest John Michael Schmitz fan at center, and I'm intrigued by the idea of if Evan Neal can actually take a step forward now that they're developing a guard. Could it be Neal guard, GVR at center, Runyon at left guard? Just something to think about.
Yeah, there's nothing negative about bringing GVR back. Great locker room guy. You know, people are looking up to him. We don't need to rely on him as a starter either, but he's there if Evan Neal doesn't do anything at starter. If John Michael Schmitz continues to suck, you can put him over there. Like to me, it was a no-brainer bring back by Joe Schoen. And as we noted last year when he signed, this guy's from Long Island. Just had what I think his first kid or maybe a second kid. All of his family's in Long Island. Wants to be local. It's mutually beneficial for both parties. And I don't know if I would say he was the most consistent, but he played.
Who would you say was the most consistent in your mind?
Maybe Illuminor. And I know he didn't have, there were some games where he wasn't great, but there were also some games that GVR wasn't great. And Illuminor also, it was like, dude, you're going to play right guard. No, actually, you're going to play right back. You might have to take some snaps at left tackle. He was just bounced around and he handled it like a professional. And I love his temperament. I love his mentality. I think he's funny on Twitter. So I mess with Jermaine Illuminor. For sure. So I would probably say him. But regardless, like this GVR, somebody you brought in the last week of July, and he came in and gave you competency. And that's all we ask for on the offensive line. So it's an absolute home run from that standpoint. He's not really costing you anything either.
Right. And one thing Joe Schoen also mentioned was he felt, and this is something we've talked about a lot on the pod, it's an unpopular take that we have based on us watching a lot of film, charting the film, looking at our notes from each game's film. in the 6 games before Thomas's injury, he felt really good about where the offensive line was at. He said both in the pass and run game. That's where I'd actually disagree with Shane. I think there were moments in the run game, but I did not feel as good about what the run game was producing. But the pass protection, I really liked until the Thomas injury. Like, really, really like some of those games, man. They gave Jones all day back there, all day to do whatever the hell he wanted. It felt like at times, like win after win after win from an offensive line standpoint. So I mean, that doesn't mean he's going to stop adding. He even mentioned we have 5 picks inside the top 105. And so we could add an offensive lineman there. But I agree with Shane on that assessment.
Same here. It's just really the Vikings game that was really bad.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, I think, more of a defensive, just absolutely beating the shit out of the Giants and catching them off guard rather than just like the offensive line sucking. I mean, that factored into it, but yeah, Brian Flores cooked.
Brian Flores was just like, I got Jones on my first week schedule. I have 4 weeks to prepare for Daniel Jones and how to defeat this guy. And he just overwhelmed him 100% in that game.
Ivan Pace Jr. said something before the game. He's like, oh, dude, we're going to be fine. And we're like, hey, man, they're all confident. They were fine.
They were fine. Like, they knew the game plan and they knew what was the limitations were for the Giants offense at that time. But point being, besides that game, I think you're right. He also mentioned something interesting, I thought. Talked through all the defensive signings. The first part, which wasn't as interesting, but it's something we agree with, which is one of the main reason they brought in Paulson Adebo and Holland was that they believe that they're going to have ball production that they haven't had in the secondary. And it's really important to start to get those interceptions and those tip passes.
What would we have, like 5, 6 last year? We've ranked or tied for last twice in the last 3 years.
So sad.
That goes back to 2022. The Giants have
in a Shane Bowen system where it's like necessary that you should be getting interceptions.
Yeah, man. But again, like, and I'm not making excuses for Shane Bowen. I was critical of Shane Bowen last year. I think Shane Bowen was hamstrung by the roster, mostly because they couldn't stop the run without Dexter Lawrence out there. And even with Dexter Lawrence out there, they weren't that great. And if you can't play too high, you're going to have to drop that guy in the box. And now you're not really running what Shane Bowen wants to run. And you're just kind of trying to patchwork and bandage all the issues that you have with your roster. So I'm hoping that the Giants get this defensive tackle that will allow 4-man rushes, fit the run well, take a little bit of pressure off the linebackers, and then Javon Holland, Paulson, and all those secondary.
And Newman.
Yeah, and Newman. They won't be on these one-on-ones, and they could actually thrive running like a palm system against 3-by-1.
Right, which they want to run anyway. Like, they give them opportunities to make plays on the ball. But I think what you said is also interesting. We'll get to that in a moment. But I've been doing a lot of digging. Like, so far, I've done deep dives on quarterbacks in this class, running backs, and now I'm moving to D linemen. I spent the whole weekend doing a lot of research on the interior class for many reasons. Obviously, the Giants want one. You just mentioned how important it is to get that guy, and it's the deepest position in the class. It's going to be interesting to me if they go a D line at 34 or even at 65, it's going to be interesting to me which route they go. Because I look at this class and there's 2 different groups of these IDLs. There's the ones who I think can be dominant for us in the run game and really impactful at the line of scrimmage. And then there's the guys who are like, can win these one-on-ones next to Dexter Lawrence. Okay, you want to double Dexter Lawrence every play like you do? And this is something Joe Schoen mentioned, by the way, in this Q&A. He's like, Dexter Lawrence gets doubled. We signed Chauncey Golston because not only is he an outside backer, but he's somebody we can kick inside and win the one-on-ones when Dexter gets doubled. There's guys in this draft class who project as potentially really good next to a double team in the pass game. But then there's also guys who I would want to put next to Dex who can really shore up our interior run game. So it's going to be very interesting for me to see which direction they go. I personally wouldn't even mind if they went both 34 and 65. People think that's crazy, but I'm just like feeling the old school Giants way of just get more D linemen, get more in the rotation. It's funny because these are all things that Dave Gettleman said, by the way, and he was right in that regard. I think.
Imagine getting like a Kenneth Grant or a Derek Harmon and then like a Darius Alexander or TJ Sanders or something like that.
You got everything you want out of that. You got the one-on-one winner, but you also got the guy to stop the run. Plus, we signed a couple guys who can help in that.
And you don't need Dex to play like 900 snaps. You can take them off the field. And then like the Roy Robertson, Harrison, all those guys, they can like compete for those final roster spots. Yeah. Come in, be competent depth, maybe to, Jeremiah Ledbetter. But then you don't got to be like, hey, DJ Davidson, you want to play 450 snaps for us? Like, we can't be doing that anymore.
You can't have a 7th round pick playing 450 snaps for you.
Yeah, I know. Like, I like Elijah Chapman, but he can just be your NASCAR package guy that you can put in. You don't need to be like, oh, well, we're kind of weak. We're going to put him in his first down, and you watch him get blown off football.
Right. Right. Great point. And so that's going to be interesting. And Shane talked a lot about that, how, we want to be able to have those guys in the back end in the secondary that we sign so we can allow that front to feast. But you know what else he mentioned? It's so funny. It's almost like between him mentioning the touchdown passes, the aggressive deep attacking, the interception. It's almost like he listens to this podcast. He obviously doesn't. He obviously does not. I'm not saying that. I'm joking. But he did mention something that we've talked about so much, how he said with this defensive line, hopefully this year we can give them some leads so they can pin their ears back. And that's something you and I have discussed at length this offseason. The defense was in such a difficult position last year because they didn't have a lot of leads and they weren't able to really show off what they were capable of.
Absolutely, dude. Let the Giants go up like 21-10 or something in the third quarter. And then you have Brian Burns screaming off the edge with Dexter Lawrence pushing the pocket. The Giants end up drafting Abdul Carter. You have Abdul Carter on the other side, and then Kayvon kicked inside or Goldstein kicked inside. That is a feared pass rush. That if Carter is added, like, let's do this. If Carter is added to the Giants, and the Giants go Carter at 3, do the Giants have the best pass rush in the entire league? That's in the conversation for sure.
If Shane Bowen does things right, because I've watched a lot of tape, Penn State tape of Carter, and they use Carter the right way.
Yeah. So, okay, let's try to remove obviously the structure of the defense and what the defensive coordinator does. Vital to this. But if you're just looking at the raw personnel and you can just like have another defensive coordinator come into the building and be like, select whatever defensive front you want to use. The Giants might be the first one that defensive coordinator selects with Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, and Brian Burns.
It has to be at that point. And Kayvon. And freaking Kayvon. And then
imagine if 5.
Imagine if you go Carter and Harmon, or like Carter and Ennis into your defensive alignment at 34. You're just building an absolute monster up front. It's the most fun, like an old school Giants monster type team.
That's the thing. It's an old school Giants monster team. The Giants are known for this because of Ernie Accorsi's quote about you can't have too much pass rushers. And then we're watching the Philadelphia Eagles win Super Bowls with that same exact approach.
So and the Chiefs have done this too, by the way. Chiefs have poured a lot of resources and assets into the defensive line.
Absolutely, dude. They get some of your boys too, you know, like Leo Chanel and everything. Who's not even like a defensive lineman, a linebacker, but they use them in that way. So they get creative with how they
do, right? Like some of my favorite snaps I've seen from Abdul Carter at Penn State when they line him up over the A gap or the B gap. Yeah. So like if the Giants draft him, I hope that Shane Bowen is creative with his usage. I really do.
I think he would be. I think he would be. Certain packages, you just gotta be able to stop the run and win those early downs.
Yeah.
which struggled for the Giants because the Giants defense would be, oh, our offense went 3 and out. Our offense went 3 and out. Oh, our offense got a first down, 4 and out. And it's like, oh, well, I'm playing all these snaps. And then they're just out there. And by the time the third, fourth quarter rolls around, they're all freaking beat, tired. Brian Burns can hardly walk after the game. And it's just like, we gotta take some pressure off this defense.
So happy that Burns is going to be healthy this year. I think we're going to see a different level of Brian Burns this year. Yeah. Well, if he can stay healthy, I should say. But that was unfortunate last year. All right. This is basically it. He touched a little bit on the comp picks and how it is important to them to get that comp pick. And it did impact what they did last season, but I think off season, but I think we knew that. I don't think that's anything interesting on that front. And just the connection between Shea Tierney and Russell Wilson, some of the stuff he studied there. But outside of that, he basically said, like, look, pro days are coming to an end. Colorado still goes on the 4th. We'll go to that. So it's time. We're getting our board together, and it's going to be really crunch time for the Giants now too. With March 31st, they're going to start to really put together everything that defines their plan in this draft. So I'm really excited about it.
Same here. And one more thing, the Giants, I think there was something about how the Giants had addressed the swing tackle role with James Hudson III.
Oh yeah.
So is that like solidified? Are the Giants not going to look at a tackle later? Like I am a little like wondering how many roster spots do the Giants have for the offensive line going into the season with the players they currently have? I look at Azudu as like, if Azudu can't make the team, he can't make the team. Sucks, right?
I don't think he is going to make the team personally.
But at the same time, I don't know if the Giants would make an investment in a tackle if the tackle fell to a certain point and they had a certain grade on him. I'm hoping that they would, and then they would look at Azudu like, yes, you're completely expendable. You know, like I'm not going to rely on you to be on the roster. If you are, fine, but I'm not going to rely on that. When signing James Hudson III, it seems like it's like they check the box of, hey, we have our swing tackle, and I'm just like, if somebody falls in the draft at a certain point, that's still something that I'm willing to entertain given Andrew Thomas's health and the uncertainty at right tackle long term.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I hope they are as well. We've made mistakes in the past as a franchise, not being willing to draft over offensive linemen. We can't make those mistakes again. The offensive line is the most important thing outside of quarterback that we can do for this football team to give us a chance to win moving forward. So anyway, thanks again for listening to the Big Blue Banter podcast. I didn't do it at the beginning. Please help us grow in the month of April. It's a big month for us. We're planning to have content for you every day, if not almost every day. So I need your help. I need you to hit the like button. I need you to share this video with a friend. That's not as important. Just hit like and comment if you can. Those are the two easy things to do. And we'll keep delivering content. And I think it could be helpful because you guys have been really freaking good lately. And I don't mean guys and girls. You guys both have been really fucking good lately for us. They have been. Damn it. I meant a whole podcast without cursing, and I didn't. But it's worth it to curse in this specific moment because I've seen a lot of these videos get juiced up the algorithm by the like button. We've hit over 1,000 on some of these from a like standpoint. We're at hundreds in some of these videos. So please help us hit that like button right now. Yeah,
iTunes reviews as well. We did crack 1K, I think 2 months ago, and we were really excited about that. But if anybody has not done that yet, please just go over there, leave 5-star. Trash me if you want. Trash Dan, have fun with it. It's cool, but leave a 5-star review and try to get the word out that we're trying to build and maintain something awesome over here to get the best New York Giants and most detailed New York Giants content out there.
Exactly. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.